Nyanding'o has just arrived in her village with a load of grass she'd gone to collect from the forest. Tomorrow is market day and another day to try again. For 2 weeks, they have not been to the market. April is the hardest month for them. It's been raining a lot and their pots didn't dry, and neither did they make it to the site where they collect clay. She spreads out the grass to dry as she waits for the other women to join her. They have a few pots they had modeled from the clay they had at home. Every potter brings some grass or firewood. Danny, who is the oldest of them all, cuts the bark of trees, which they use to make a concoction they call orwech, which they use to cure the pots. One by one she pounds them until they are soft for maximum harvest of their juices. The juices of these tree bark serve 2 purposes. One is to dye the pot black, and the other is to cure it and make it stronger and durable. Nyanding'o helps out with the task. Nyakano arrives at the scene with her children, carrying her pots and her load of grass. Usually each potter bakes her pots at her own home, but because of the scarcity of firewood, they have decided to do things together to save time and firewood, which is quite scarce because of the rainy weather. There are 8 potters in this village, and one by one they arrive with their pots and with some grass or firewood for the work they are about to do. Danny is done pounding the tree barks. She adds some water to them and places them on the fire, where they will boil for some time and harvest the black dye which they are going to use to treat the pots. The last time I was here, I gave each potter an assignment to make something different from what they usually make. And this is what Danny came up with. It's a flower pot. And I think she did great, being the first time she's making this. She makes trips delivering her pots to where they're going to be burned. As I stay behind to admire her water pot, which is quite big and quite beautiful. This is where she collects rainwater. They make numerous trips from their homes to the site where they're going to burn the pots, carefully holding their pots so they don't break. Their children hang around watching their mothers work and serving as messengers whenever they need water or anything from home. More and more pots are brought to the site, different shapes, sizes, and designs. Majority being the water pot and the cooking pot, which are the most commonly required in the market. Nyaramba looks very worried. Her pots did not dry well. She precures them by putting fire in them before they go to the main fire. The pots should be completely dry before they are burned, or they risk cracking or breaking. Nyakano expresses her anger with the people who have not arrived. The rains could come any time and find them before they finish the work, and all their pots will be damaged. They lay the firewood on the ground to form a bed, the bed on which they are going to lay their pots. Nyakano carefully steps on the wood to ensure it forms a flat bed so their pots don't roll out during the burning. The bed is ready for them to lay their pots on, but the slow ones have not arrived with their pots. Danny slowly begins to carefully arrange the pots on the wood, making sure they don't rub on each other and cause damages. The weather is changing pretty fast. They all join in to arrange the pots to save time. If it rains before they burn the pots, then everything is going to be damaged. Saving time is their P1. These here are home banks which you can use to save some money at home. Nyakano tells me they are quite in demand these days, so she always carries some pieces to the market. The latecomers are finally arriving with their last pots, and the placing of the pots goes on and on and on, changing their positions just to ensure they are all in a good place and safe from cracks, and that they all get enough heat. Nyaramba's procured pots finally make it to the bed. She carefully places them on the bed, making sure she does not damage any of the earlier placed pots. Min Mami is the last one to arrive. She greets the women, but from their voices you can tell they are unhappy. She's kept them waiting and will make the rain catch up with them. The arranging of the pots takes up quite a bit of their time. Every time a new pot arrives, they have to undo and redo the arranging of the pots so that they are all carefully placed. That is the reason they do not like the latecomers. It is time consuming and also so tiring having to remove and replace the pots. They're finally done arranging the pots and the covering begins. They first place the dry leaves over the pots and lots of it. This is quite a shocker for me. I expected them to have some oven or kiln sort of thing, but they literally burn the pots in open fire. They continue to heap the dry leaves over the pots. The dry leaves burn very fast, so to slow down that fire, they cover it in dry grass, which burns slower. They finally begin to place the dry grass over the dry leaves, and this also forms another thick layer that will burn slowly, ensuring the pots get enough heat. Nyaramba jokes of leaving her struggles behind and going to the big city. She laughs, knowing well she's married here and has kids and is going nowhere. They continue to heap the grass over the pots and press it down. That slows down the burning process. They're already very tired and thirsty, and their children bring them water from time to time to drink. Just before they set fire on their pots, someone has to pray, and the prayer is usually done by the person lighting the fire. This way they believe God sees their struggles and will protect their pots from any damages. and any losses that may occur. They join hands in ensuring all parts of the heap is lit, and soon after it turns to a smoky affair. As the intensity of the heat increases, they retreat and sit away from the fire where they watch as their pots burn. A thick smoke slowly rises into the sky and spreads out into the entire village. You can hear coughs from a distance, from people choking in smoke, as the women patiently wait for their pots to burn, taking turns in adding wood or grass to the fire to ensure the burning continues until their pots are completely burnt, or ripe for that matter. It is Danny's turn to add wood to the fire, and in the blink of an eye, she disappears in the smoke, totally consumed. And then suddenly, she breaks free as the winds take a different direction. Meanwhile, the children enjoy playing in the smoke that has taken over the entire village. I just love how kids make merry of every situation. Nyaramba cheerfully takes her turn in checking on the fire. She adds some dry grass to ensure the fire keeps burning. The smoke is intense. She pulls away. Dani has many pots today. She's the most worried of them all. If her pots don't burn well, then she's at a big loss. So she takes more turns in keeping the fire burning. You can hear the happy voices of the children in the background. They know there'll be food on the table tomorrow when their mothers go to the market. It's quite windy and the smoke is spreading so fast into the nearby villages. But the potters are happy. They say their pots burn better when it's windy because the heat is evenly distributed. There's an emergency. The women have just realized the fire is dying out, yet the pots are not well burnt yet. They all rush out to get some more leaves, this time not minding whether they are dry or wet. Nyakano rushes to the scene to salvage what she can. The others are in the nearby bushes, also collecting leaves and twigs of trees. They have to keep that fire burning if they have to get anything for the market tomorrow. It's been 2 hours and the pots are finally fully baked. Dani is the first one to arrive with her concoction. The pots are treated while very hot. From the tree barks, we now have a black dye. Using twigs, they're going to spray the dye on the pots while very hot, and immediately the pots will turn black. The pots I see in the market are usually black, and I've always assumed they turn black while burnt. But I was so wrong. The pots are actually brown from the oven and only turn black once they have been treated with the dye. One by one, using a stick, they carefully remove the pots from the furnace and begin to spray it with the concoction they have made. Every potter has her own that she uses to treat her pots. I asked how they identify their pots now that they all look the same, but they said they have their own way of identifying their pots, usually using the decorations that each one of them makes on the pots. Nyakano arrives with her own concoction and begins to remove her pots from the fire. I love the red color of the pots while they're from the oven, but the women insist they have to dye them black because that's the market requirement. Their customers, just like me, believe when the pots are red, then they are not fully baked. But now I know better. The concoction itself is very hot, so it is applied on the pot while still hot. If they applied a cold concoction, then the pot breaks. Just the same way a hot piece of glass would break if you dipped it in cold water. It's all about that sudden change in temperature. After this treatment, then the pots are left to cool and then they are just ready for the market. During this burning process, some pots may break and some may come out black. When a pot is black, then it is not fully baked. So such pots are kept until the next time they are baking them, and then they have to repeat the whole process on them until they are fully baked. Otherwise, such a pot would just collapse if you poured any liquid in it. Some of the women are not happy with the outcome today. Their pots didn't burn well. Some burnt on one side and the other side didn't fully get baked. So they hate repeating the process, and that means that particular pot will not be going to the market. Nyaramba is one of the women who are counting losses today. She has more than one pot that didn't get fully baked, and that means she will be repeating that process. Her daughter watches from a distance, probably sympathizing with her mother who's worked so hard. You can clearly see the red and the black ones. So the black ones are the ones that didn't bake fully, and the red ones are ripe for the market. So you can choose to have the pots with this color, the red ones, or have them dyed black like they're doing. There's no wasting of time with the treatment of the pots. As soon as the pot is out of the furnace, then it is sprayed with the concoction. And with their experience, they do it so fast, as they don't want to allow the others to cool down before they are sprayed. Using pots made from clay is a very organic way to keep your food healthy because they are free from any chemicals. Pots also help you retain the natural taste of food, and you may want to try these ones. If you wish to support these women, please order their pots. They come in different shapes and sizes, and they can custom make anything for you. So if you're looking for something like a flower pot or anything else, you can just share the photo of whatever you want with them, and they'll be glad to model it for you. Nyanding'o has been picked to be the most trusted member of this group, and she will be picking the orders for the rest. So I'm going to link her number in the description box, and you can place your order with her, and they'll be glad to deliver or courier it to you. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as you enjoyed the first one, and I hope to bring more of these documentaries to you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me once again. I'll see you in the next. Bye bye.